This is the story about Kyle SVT's '03 Cobra. It's torch red. You may have seen videos of this car on YouTube. He has a really good YouTube channel. Here are some of his videos here. You can thank me later for getting that supercharger wine melted into your heads. You can thank Kyle even more. Those are his videos. So I want to talk a little bit about his car. He and I are very similar. We're car guys. We watch videos of cars in class. He talks about how he used to watch YouTube videos in math class with his friend about cars, and he would watch Terminator videos just like I did. I remember being in electronics class in high school, and we had access to computers, and we would get through our work, and then I'd sit there and watch Terminator videos, Cobra videos, Mustang videos, and we're really similar that way. We're car guys, and so I think that's something we do. And as you can tell, he has a good YouTube channel, and I think that maybe people get mad at you in math class for watching videos, but you're actually showing your true character. You're actually getting involved in your true interest, and I think teachers should actually recognize that. I know playing video games all day in school isn't something good, but you know, they need to recognize that that's where a lot of it starts for a lot of car guys like us. And if you really start thinking about it, it's when you're in an environment like a classroom where you're locked down and you can't go anywhere and you got work to do. Those are the kind of environments where your mind really starts deciding what you like the most. That's my opinion. I think it's times where you can't be outside doing what you want. You're kind of trapped in somewhere, and that's when your mind really starts deciding what the most important things to you are. So he started getting into these cars, and he really liked them, and he decided that's the car he wants. He watched a whole bunch of the videos, and he even has a YouTube video about this experience, and he shows some of the videos that he had watched that really developed that love for the Terminator in his eyes. So anyway, it was in 2011 he got this car. That's the same time I got my Mach 1. I was older at that time. He was in high school, and it's a really cool story of how he went with his dad looking on a Saturday morning at the car lots just to kind of go around and see what's out there, and he knew he wanted a Cobra. And he considered Mach 1s because the price of the Cobras was so high, and the Mach 1s were more affordable, and that's what I did actually first. I was in a similar situation. I knew that I really wanted a Terminator, but the Mach 1 would do, and the Mach 1 has been a great car. I love it, and I was able to get my Terminator Cobras later. But anyway, so he decided he was going to go with his dad, look around at the car lots, and it was one of those situations where they didn't really find anything, and then out of the corner of his eye he saw some more Mustangs in another car lot, and they went and started talking to the salesman, because he was actually the only salesman that talked to him that day. The other ones all stayed inside, and this guy poked his head out, asked him what they're looking for. It's actually a really cool story, and it sounds so familiar to me. I swear things like this have happened before, but the salesman was like, "Oh, you're looking for a Cobra? Yeah, I think we got one in the back that just came in on trade." And he was like, let me go get the keys and go see. And so they got on a golf cart, went around the back, and there was this Terminator Cobra sitting kind of dirty, rained on, but it had been traded in for a King Ranch. And really cool story of how he actually got this car. He got it for an amazing price because the salesman knew that winter was setting in, and they wanted to get rid of the sports cars that weren't going to sell in the winter, and it needed a clutch. Yeah, so they kind of knew that. I think they see a performance car with a couple of things wrong with it, and they just want to get rid of it. And so he said they were going to take it down to auction unless he was going to buy it for just a little bit more than what they got it in. And you know, trade-in value is very low, so he got it for a great price. So here are some really cool pictures of when he got it. I actually like the look of this car with the stock wheels on it. These are like the 5-spoke polished aluminum wheels. They're not the chrome ones. I believe Ford calls them machined wheels. But anyway, beautiful looking car. You can see it doesn't have any Cobra letters in the bumper yet. That's a pretty good sign that the car hasn't been modified too far. It did have a Bassani catback on it, which I just installed on my friend's convertible Terminator. It had a 276 upper pulley, a JLT intake, and an MGW short throw shifter. But not only was it a nice car, this is one of my favorite pictures right here, is having it in auto shop at school. I couldn't believe how cool it would be to have that. The auto shop days are very important to me, and I think to a lot of car guys it's a place where you get together and you're young and you're checking things out, and to have this, which would be essentially my dream car in high school, would have just been killer. Danny Johnson and I had matching 97 laser red V6 5-speed Mustangs, and we had them in high school. We took them to auto shop, and they were the nicest cars in the school parking lot, and so we were really lucky to have that. So I'm very fortunate to have had that, and I know what it's like to have a nice car and take it to auto shop and be proud of it. So I really like this picture. I think that's really cool. So one of the first things he did to the car was the Raxium sequential tail lights. I think that looks really good. I've never gotten around to doing that to mine, but I do like the idea, and maybe one day I'll do that. So a couple things that went wrong with the car is alternator quit, which is very common on the Cobras. I know that they go out all the time and people complain about it, and this could have been a time where he's like, oh man, what a piece of junk, and people start adding up the things that are wrong with a car when things like this happen. But it's common. It's something that's going to be an interchangeable part that needs to be replaced sometime. And speaking of interchangeable parts, the clutch needed to be replaced like he had talked about with the salesman, and so he actually drove it a couple of years the way it was. But he went ahead and pulled down the T56 and got that all taken care of. Here's a picture of the stock clutch. It wasn't too bad, but it was having a hard time shifting from second to third. I've been there with my orange one, similar mileage. Mine has like 30,000 miles on it when I changed mine, but he decided to go with the McLeod light and steel flywheel, which is always a good idea to change the flywheel or have it resurfaced when you go to a new clutch. He went with the McLeod RST, a nice street clutch. And another thing he had to do was get the pinion rack and pinion out, the steering, and change that out for a different one. So, you know, these cars are going to need a little bit of maintenance, a little bit of love, but just replace a few things on it like that. And those were kind of just the basic small things that the car needed. Here's some really cool pictures I like of the car. Beautiful side shots, and you know, I do like the look with those machined wheels like we had talked about, and he would later go to trade those out. We'll talk about that in a minute, but just some really cool pictures of the car, kind of like what I see the red Terminator as, just kind of a stock picture. And so the next mod would be lowering springs, which a lot of us like. Most car people want their car to sit a little bit lower, and it made it look really good. It sat just right. Those are the H&R race springs, which are very popular with the Cobras and Bilstein shocks, and so nice looking Cobra. Sat really well with those. And he also put some Maximum Motorsports caster camber plates. I have that on my red Mach 1 and my red Cobra. Those are a really good set, and you have to do that when you lower the car, or you're going to be chewing up your tires on the insides. The camber is going to be off. And so after that, he decided it was time to address the wheel hop and take care of the bushings. His differential was leaking too, so it was time to pull that all down. And he was actually really lucky to go make friends with Full Tilt Boogie Racing and have their shop pull down the IRS and do all the bushing work on it. And this is something that I've actually been looking a lot into lately, as I'm starting to modify my red Cobra a little bit more, and having taken my friend's mineral gray convertible Terminator down to the racetrack and figure out that there's quite a bit of wheel hop that these sloppy rubber stock bushings give the car when you're putting some good power to it and trying to do burnouts or racing on drag radials. So anyway, you can see here all the control arms are out, and they have these grease fittings installed on them and these hardened bushings, and it looks really good. They also welded in some subframe connectors, which are really important to stiffen up the chassis on the car. For those of you that don't know what this is, it's those black metal bars in the center of the screen there. Those go the length of the car on each side, and it just keeps the body straight on the bottom, kind of like a big rail car would be. Just keeps it nice and stiff so the body doesn't twist with a lot of power. So his leaking differential had caused a mess on the exhaust, so he took it home and sanded it, which is a good thing. You can polish it up really well. So then he wanted to start playing around with wheel and tire combinations, and he first started by plasti dipping his wheels black, and that looked pretty good. I know a lot of guys that do that. He played around with Photoshop and tried different wheels on his car. I've done that too. I used to go to TireRack.com. They used to have this really cool thing where you could put your car in, and it had a side shot of almost every car, and you could trade the wheels around and see what you like the best and change the sizes and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. When I look at this, the first thing that my eye goes to is the 10th anniversary style, because obviously that's what I have, even though I prefer the chrome 5-spoke Terminator wheels on a Terminator. But of course, since mine is the 10th anniversary, I stick with the 10th look and do what Ford designed the car with, even though I would like to have another set of chrome 5-spokes to switch out. But ultimately, he chose the Saleen wheel style by OE, which is a good wheel brand. I've had a set of those before. And so that looked pretty good. He unboxed those. I think that's something that all of us car guys love to do, is finally unbox a nice set of wheels. And he went with the Toyo R888 tires, which are very popular with the Cobras, and they hook really well. He's had them for like 4 years, and so it looks really good on the car. And you know, the chrome emblems didn't seem to match with the wheels anymore, so he decided to go ahead and plasti dip the emblems black, and that kind of tied the whole car together. I think it looks good. If you're going to go black, you're going to kind of be devoted to that and need to go ahead and put the black bumper inserts in and the black badges and just kind of go with that theme so that it doesn't look too mismatched and terrible. And so then he decided that he wanted a little more stopping power, decided to take off the stock Cobra brakes and go with some nice Willwood brakes. And he even went back and painted them red, which I think looks really good. I actually had a set of the black Willwoods on one of my GTs, and I traded them to a friend for him helping me put the cams in my Bullet as kind of a trade work, because he knew how to do it. And you can see how good those look with the black wheels. I think that looks really good. So he also upgraded the rear brakes, and those look really good as well. And as you know, they perform better than they look, I'm sure. So that must be a pretty good performance. I've seen videos of him actually standing on the brakes next to another Cobra, and his stopped a lot quicker. And I'm sure hanging out with Full Tilt Racing and knowing that they're all track oriented and stuff, they're going to lead him the right way to get the cool stuff and have him upgrade the things that are going to make the car perform and handle really well. So here's a little before and after shot of the brakes and how much bigger they are. And that actually reminds me of one of the reasons I took the brake kit off of that silver GT that I had them on to trade to my friend, was because I wanted the Bullet wheels on that car, and they wouldn't fit anymore with those big brakes on them. The ones I had were actually the 6-piston ones. That's another good reason why the Saleen wheels are a good choice for him. And something cool he did too was he added ducting to the brakes, and I think that's something really interesting. The Cobra R has a similar setup, and I've actually heard that the reason that the Terminator front end has the big wide opening with the 2 holes in it, one for the fog light, the other one was actually for the brake ducts, and it's something that you could do later if you felt like the car needed it, or if you're going to be tracking the car a lot. So that's just something kind of interesting about that front bumper, and how a lot of people wonder why it doesn't have 4 fog lights in the front, but it's actually brake ducting is what the other one is for. So a couple more things that he needed to replace in the car were the fan. The fan broke. It actually just cracked on part of it right here. You can see that crack. So he had to replace the coolant fan. And the next thing he wanted to do was the heat blanket. A lot of guys will take this off so they can hear the supercharger whine a little bit better, but he bought a new one from LMR, and it looked a lot better than the old one. It was getting kind of ratty and gross, and my orange one doesn't have one. I'm actually looking to get a replacement one from LMR to make it look more stock. And then the shorty antenna, of course, is a must for a lot of these Mustang people. It's something I've done to my cars. It just looks a lot better to have a nice short updated looking antenna. One of his idler pulleys blew up, which you've seen in other videos, so he went with the billet flow ones, and also he upgraded to some LED headlights. And his old headlight housing was starting to peel a little bit. It didn't look too bad, but he decided to go ahead and get some from LMR. They actually sent him a set, probably because he does such a good job with his videos and stuff. And so then it was just on to cleaning the car up. He washes it really well. He has detailed videos on that. He started polishing up the paint on it and doing different stages of polishing, so that looks really good. So here are some more cool pictures of the car. I love the Indiglo gauges on the Cobras. His interior is really nice. I actually like the graphite gray inserts on the seats. I've always thought that was kind of a Cobra thing, even though I have the dark charcoal ones and the red 10th anniversary ones on mine. But beautiful looking car, nice shine to it. This is a car that I enjoy watching on YouTube. I'd say that I'm very happy for him. Some people would say that they're jealous that he had this car so young, but the more friendships I make, the more happy I am for the car people that have what they want, especially at such a younger age. He was able to get this car at a good time in his life. You can see he really likes it. He has these things in his room, the cool Cobra snake hanging there and everything. And something that I'm a little envious of too is when you have one car like this that you put all the work into, you can focus on it the most. I love my car collection and I have several Mustangs, but it is kind of nice to have one car that you can focus everything on. I mean, he does have a Jeep that he makes YouTube videos with too, so I know he has more than one car, but as far as focusing on a car and putting everything into it, that's cool. And I'm kind of getting that way with my red Cobra. I've sold a couple of my cars and I'm going to focus more on mine, but he was really lucky to get this car at that age. The Mach 1s at the time were pretty expensive as well, so I think it's really cool he was able to get this and stick with it the whole time and just be able to start out with what he ultimately wanted in the beginning. I really love Torch Red Terminator, and I ended up getting mine, and mine had 43,000 miles on it when I got it last year, so it's actually pretty similar. There are a lot of reasons why our cars are similar, our two red Cobras, and so it's pretty fun to watch all that. Here's a little model he has, had it made up to look like his. I have this same model. I think all car guys love to have a model of what they have, and you know, I used to take pictures of my model cars and stuff too, so this is pretty cool that he has one that looks like his. But anyway, just a little story here about Kyle's red Terminator Cobra. You know, I talked to Danny Johnson, told him I'd be making this video, and that I'd been talking to Kyle about making this video, and he was saying, you know, I really like him. He's a good guy. He's always been good to me, and I said the same. I said, we've talked back and forth, and we've been very supportive of each other's YouTube channels and our cars, and we get along really well. And I think Kyle's a really cool all-around guy, and I'm going to leave the link to his YouTube channel in the description below, and I'm going to try to put him right here on the screen so you can go watch his own words of this car, of getting the car, and check out some of his other videos, and subscribe to his channel too. It's a really good one. I like watching it. I'll sit down and just enjoy watching his videos. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe and stay tuned for more of these stories.